Somebody says, well, I'm waiting for a raise. I'm telling you, it's easier to climb than to wait for a raise. Why not just become more valuable rather than wait? I'm telling you, that's the key to all good things. Becoming more valuable. Why would we pay somebody $400 an hour? They've become more valuable to the marketplace. See how this works? I'm telling you, this stuff is so easy. This is America. This is a ladder. How far is it from 4 to 5? I'm telling you, it's not far. $4 to $5 an hour? If you work for McDonald's, haul out the trash, they'll pay you $5 an hour. If you whistle while you haul out the trash, they'll pay you $5 an hour. I'm telling you. You'll get an extra dollar just for a good attitude. Yay, McDonald's. Wear the hat. It's incredible. $5, and then you just keep becoming more valuable, more valuable, more valuable. I got a telephone call 5 years ago. Company said, we're ready to expand internationally. We need some help. I was sort of semi-retired, right? Looking for the next exotic beat. They said, no, Mr. Rohn, we got a project for you, right? Going to expand internationally. We could use your help. Next little while, we'll add some millions to your fortune, make it worth your while. I said, okay. I thought later, isn't that interesting that they called me? My second thought was, of course they'd call me. Who else would they call? I mean, I can get the job done. Now, how come I got a telephone call worth millions? I had become valuable. Now, I'm a farm boy from Idaho. I was raised in obscurity. 1 year of college, and I thought I was thoroughly educated. Made all kinds of mistakes galore. At age 25, the creditors are calling me saying, hey, you told us the check was in the mail. I got pennies in my pocket. I got nothing in the bank. I'm behind on my promises. How come I get a telephone call 5 years ago and it's worth millions? I changed. I turned my life around. Is it possible to become worth millions? Speaking economically, now there's a lot of values to become, but let's just talk economics. Is it possible to become that valuable? And the answer is, of course. Now let me give you the secret. Shoaff said, here's the secret, Mr. Rohn. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Once I got that, it turned my life around. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. He said, if you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. If you would have known me at age 25, you would have said, Jim Rohn's a hard worker. If you'd have known me, you'd have said that. I'm the guy, I don't mind coming a little bit early, staying a little bit late. I don't mind that. You'd have said, well, Jim Rohn's a hard worker. You say, well, how come he's got pennies in his pocket and nothing in the bank and behind on his promises? Well, I was a hard worker, but I was working hard on my job, not on myself. I'm telling you, if you'll learn that simple little principle and start the process today, latest tomorrow, give you tonight to think it over. And start this whole process of personal development, work on yourself, make yourself more valuable to the marketplace. I'm telling you, you can so dynamically change your income, and economics is the least of the values that you can start earning in terms of equity if you'll start working harder on yourself than you do on your job. Work hard on yourself and develop the skill. Work hard on yourself and develop the grace. All of the stuff necessary to become more valuable to the marketplace. I'm telling you, your whole life can explode into change. Promotions, no problem. Becoming more valuable to the company, I'm telling you, no problem. Money, no problem. Economics, no problem. Future, no problem. If you just go to work on the right things. Not get things out there to change. Don't try to change the seed. Don't change the soil. Don't change the sunshine. Don't change the rain. Don't change the mix of seasons. Let the miracle of everything that's available work for you, and start working on the inside. Work on your philosophy. Work on your attitude. Work on your personality. Work on your language. Work on the gift of communication. Work on all of your abilities. And if you'll start making those personal changes, I'm telling you, everything will change. Now, let me give you another scenario on personal development. It's called the 4 major lessons in life to learn. Before we get to the 4 major lessons in life to learn, let me give you a key phrase for your notes. Here it is. Life and business is like the season. Life and business is like the season. Frank Sinatra sings, life is like the season. Now, here's one of the key phrases that changed my life. Starting at age 25, you can see this whole scenario. Personal development for me began. I've never been the same since. Here's the next key phrase. You cannot change the season, but you can change. You can't change the season, but you can change yourself. My best hope, right? When I'm 25 years old, my best hope was to go through the day with my fingers crossed saying, I sure hope things will change. I sure hope things will change. It seemed to be my only way for my life to get better if things would change. Here's what I discovered. It isn't going to change. It isn't going to change. I did a seminar one time for Standard Oil executives and management in Honolulu, now known as Chevron. And we're talking economics one day around the conference table. And one of them said to me, Mr. Rohn, you know some fairly important people around the world. You have a chance to travel internationally. Can you tell us what you think the 80s are going to be like? Now, you can tell how far back this goes. I said, what do you think the 80s are going to be like? And I thought for a moment, and I said, gentlemen, I do know the right people. And I do have some experience, I think I can tell you. So they all leaned in a little closer, and I said, gentlemen, based on the people I know and based on the best of my own experience, I think in the 80s it's going to be about like it's always been. Aren't you glad you came today? I mean, that's inside stuff. I don't just spread that around everywhere. It's going to be about like it's always been. It isn't going to change. To hope that it'll change is called whistling in the wind, being so naive, hoping for something that isn't going to occur. I can give you the shortest history lesson that you can imagine in one sentence. What describes human history on the spinning planet the last 6,500 years? Let me describe it for you in one sentence. Here's human history in one sentence. Opportunity mixed with difficulty. That's about as simple as you can put it. And opportunity mixed with difficulty isn't going to change. The man says, well, if it isn't going to change for the future, if it isn't going to change in the 90s, how will my life ever change? Answer, when you change. And if you will change, everything will change for you. Your bank account will change, your income will change, your future will change, the ability to acquire your dreams will change, it'll all change if you will. And now let's go through the scenario of the season. Life and business is like the seasons. Let's cover them. Here's number one, major lesson in life to learn. Learn how to handle the winters. You say, well, Mr. Rohn, a lot of this stuff is fairly obvious. That's true. Just need somebody like me just to come along and remind us. This is what this is called today, a reminding session. I got no new truths for you to discover. This is all old stuff. We just need to hear it again. Somebody get on our case a little bit, right? We all need that. Here's number one lesson, learn how to handle the winters. That's obvious. The winters come right after falls. And pray tell how often? Every year, according to written history, for the last 6,500. To cross your fingers and say, I hope it doesn't come. I'm telling you, we call that naive.
See, how many of you have children? Raise your hands. Me too. I got Max and Bella at home. You ever notice when you go to a Little League game when they were playing their sport, how there's all those kids on the field, but who do you see? You see yours. It's almost like the other kids are barely there. You're like, yeah, they're cute kids. Where's mine? Right? Don't you do that? Or you go to a play at Christmas time, the Christmas pageant for your daughter or your son, and all the kids are up there singing. Who are you watching sing the whole time? Your little baby. And how much you hope and believe their life is going to be special and great, and you want them to be happy and fulfilled and confident, don't you? Yes? I'm going to give you a secret. Your kids look at you like that. Your children look at you. All they see is you. They don't see the other parents. They don't see the other people. They look at you. They want you to be happy, you to be special, you to live your dreams. They want that for you. In fact, they want it more because what you do opens the gates for them in their minds to think about what they can do. So you have an even bigger responsibility. You can't tolerate it. See, you can't go to your children and say you can be whatever you want. Because what if they look back at you and say, well, Daddy, if I can be whatever I want, if I can do anything, how come you haven't? How come you and Mommy haven't? You don't want them to think that about you. We've all gotten to an age, haven't we, in our lives where we figured out we love our parents dearly, but we figured out who they are, haven't we? Good, bad, and indifferent. Your children are going to figure out who you are. They're going to grow to an age where they know. Maybe they already have. And you know what? This is your shot to change it. They're always going to love you, but they can be proud of you. Your kids are going to have heroes. Why not that hero be you? At any age, you could turn that around. At any time, you could turn that around. I want to challenge you to do that. I want this to fill you. I want you to think about it. I want it to move you. I want it to energize you. And when you get weak, when someone quits, when an appointment cancels, when some yahoo tells you shouldn't be doing this and you're not good enough or there's something better or whatever they tell you, you remember why you're doing it. I want to sow it into you right now. I want you to know why you're doing this. And it's those people. Life will only give you what you'll fight for. I'm going to tell you a story. I've told it only one other time. This sort of illustrates the point. Kind of. My dad, how many of you have a dad that's kind of a dog? Like he's a dude. And you got dads like that? My dad's an intense dude. My dad's struggling with another bout of cancer right now. He's not the same guy that I grew up with, but I'm one of those guys. I've seen my dad in a couple scrapes. You know what I'm talking about? How many of you know what I'm talking about? I got one of those dads. My dad's a tough dude. My dad was a hockey player.
By age 50, you can still have 5 world championships. But you got to be willing to get under some stress. See, stress is necessary. It's like, I can't believe what Bishop was talking about because I had prepared this whole thing. And it's just amazing how he is, man. God be doing. See, that's what I've learned. God cold. He tricky with it. He got moves you won't even. Three of the things I was gonna talk about, he talked about. Now I got scared to talk. Cause you know, I mean, I'm up here, you know, following the greatest preacher of all time with similar subject matter, but I have a different take on it, cause I had a different walk. So you see, the part he was talking about, that seed. See, I'm a seed, I really am. But a seed has to be planted. A seed got to have dirt put on top of it. If you take a seed and throw it on the concrete and walk off, the sun just burn it up. But guess what? Logically, in my mind, it doesn't make sense that to grow something, you should dig a hole, put it down in there, and cover it with dirt. Logically, that don't make no sense to me. But though, see, dirt is necessary for growth and development. Dirt builds character. Dirt gives you the push-through factor. Dirt makes you come with it when you don't feel like coming with it no more. And you get dirt in a lot of different ways. All of y'all that had dirt thrown on you. And dirt ain't always what you want. It's somebody talking about you down on your job. It's somebody accusing you of something that you didn't do. It's somebody telling you you ain't gonna make it. It's somebody sharing information about you that ain't true. That everybody get dirt put on them. But see, when you getting put under that stress, please know God is always working. Kirk Franklin's song, God is always working, so I smile. Because I know he back there. See, that dirt builds character in you. When they talking about you, it teaches you to withstand it. Then it gives you something to push through. So when you put the seed and you put the dirt on it, if you understand stress, stress really ain't just dirt. Stress, see, they don't call it dirt when they plant it. They call it soil. Because, see, soil has nutrients in it. What the nutrients, when people talking about you, dogging you, lying on you, backbiting, stealing from you, talking about you, they're actually putting nutrients in you. They're building character. You got character now. Now the seed, if they put a camera under the ground, you'd have seen the seed sprout open and start coming through the dirt, because the dirt is necessary so you can prove yourself. You know, if you don't really want to be, everything you see above ground that blossoms and plants and grows and that's beautiful, it was underground one time. All them potatoes, collard greens, they was underground one time. Them apple trees, they was underground one time. So they had to prove themselves. See, you want to be successful, well, then you got to prove yourself. You got to push through the dirt. You got to come up through here. You got to come out. Then you sprout, and then Bishop say, then you become a tree. Next thing you know, you got fruit. So when you under stress, take the stress for what it is. Don't get fooled. Don't just think, I don't know, man, Lord must not mean for it to be. What you tripping for? What you talking about? How you think you gonna be a plant, a tree, a flower, a bush, and ain't no stress? How you gonna get to be that without no dirt? Didn't they do Jesus? How you figure you supposed to get up out of here? He was pretty perfect. We ain't even perfect. See, I expect dirt now. I expect people to talk about me. Matter of fact, I look forward to it now. Do your thing, because if I can weather what happened to me and my family earlier, you can bring whatever you got now. There's some more stuff going around now that's about to happen. Bring it. Because now I have developed a character that is stress. I have soil, enough dirt on me that has provided me with nutrients. So now, let me help you understand how hard it is to be successful. It's very difficult, because more people would be successful if it were easy. Right. It's like doing 100 push-ups. You know, the average person can't do 100 push-ups. Now, some of you in here, you can't do 100 push-ups. I just looked and went, come on, Steve. But because of the fact that it's difficult, you're not gonna try? You say you have a relationship with the greatest of all time. Took 5,000 people, had 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread, fed all of them. You don't want to try the 100 push-ups. They take rocket ships, take them to the moon, orbit, bring them back, land it in the same place it took off from. You don't want to try the 100 push-ups? Right. You don't really think you can do the 100 push-ups?
I want you to look at something right now. Think of some major goal you want, or maybe it's one you're already working on, and you have experienced a lot of setbacks, a lot of defeats. You've experienced a lot of disappointment. Maybe you've already given up, and maybe you just need a little fire, a little encouragement to get back in the game again. Here's what I want you to look at. There are winners, there are losers, and there are people who have not discovered how to win. And all they need is some coaching. All they need is some help and assistance, just a little support. All they need is some insight or different strategy or plan of action to make some adjustments that will open up the key to a whole new future for them, that will give them access to the unlimited power that they have within themselves. That's all that they need. So what I want you to do is think about something you want for you, that's real for you, that's important for you, that will give your life some special meaning and power. And I don't even want you to say, I can do that. I don't want you to assume that. See, 5 years ago, when I started out in this area, I would not have been able to make the mental leap that I would be up to where I am right now. I don't want you to begin to just psych yourself out. No. I want you to be able to say something to yourself that will enable you to maintain a level of integrity with yourself. That when you say this, even when you face tremendous setbacks, it will be a benchmark to keep you in the game, to keep you moving forward and experimenting and readjusting your strategy and your plan of action, continuously looking for ways to win. So what is that something? When you got an idea you want to move on, you might not have the money, you might not have the education, you might not have the support or the resources you need. What is that something that can keep us going, that will enable us to act on our dream? What's one of those keys that will begin to help us to discover the secrets to our dream? Here's what I want you to repeat after me, please, with power and conviction. Say, it's possible. That's all I want you to do when you look at your dream. Just say to yourself every day, it's possible. Just say that every day to yourself, it's possible. Because what does that do? See, it begins to change your belief system. See, the way in which we operate, ladies and gentlemen, it's a manifestation of what we believe, what's possible for us. Whatever you've done up to this point, all that it really is a duplication, it's a reproduction of what you believe subconsciously that you deserve and what's possible for your life. Most people operate out of their personal history, out of their memory, things they've done, things they've experienced, things they've seen, things that they have observed. What I'm suggesting that you operate out of a larger vision of yourself. I want you to see yourself doing what you want to do, experiencing what you want to experience, having what you want to have, doing what it is that gives your life some meaning and value. Operate out of your imagination, not your memory. Because whenever you look at where you want to go, I'm wanting to warn you, you will have some conversation back here after you go through the data that you've experienced in life saying you can't do it. And so what you want to begin to do is ignore that inner conversation. Well, most people, ladies and gentlemen, when something happens to them, what they do is they begin to believe that that's the way it is. That's the way it's always been. And they can't see the possibility of it being any different. Example, before April 1954, the common belief, the universal belief, because it had been tried again and again and again and people had failed, the belief was that man was not physically capable of breaking the 4-minute barrier, that he could not run a mile in less than 4 minutes. That was the belief on the planet. It had never been done. But here's what happened, ladies and gentlemen. Roger Bannister came along and he broke the 4-minute barrier. Now here's what's significant about that. Since that time, up to this day, over 20,000 people have done it, including high school kids. What changed? 20,000 people. What changed? Here's what happened when they got on the track. They knew it had been done. And because they knew it had been done, there was a new belief about this barrier, about this goal that was unreachable. And those 20,000 people got in a race believing, knowing in their heart that someone had done it, that it's possible, that they could do it.
But if someone put a gun to your head and said, you have to have your 100-page thesis done by next Monday, or I'll shoot you, but I don't care how terrible it is, you would sit down and write it. And the thing is, then you have it, right? Then you have something, and then you can fix it. You can iterate and fix it. That bad first draft, that's the most valuable thing. And so that's what you need. You need a bad first draft of yourself. And there's an idea that Jung developed about the trickster and the jester, the comedian, right? That the trickster is the precursor to the savior. That's one of the things I learned from Jung that was just, it's so unlikely. You'd never think that. It's so amazing that might be the case. But the satirical and the ironic and the troublemaker, the comedian, the fool is the precursor to the savior. Why? Because you're a fool when you start something new. And so if you're not willing to be a fool, then you'll never start anything new. And if you never start anything new, then you won't develop. And so the willingness to be a fool is the precursor to transformation. And that's the same as humility. And so if you're going to write your destiny, you can do a bad first job. You're going to get smarter as you move forward. That's the thing, is that so something beckons to you. That's what happens here. Maybe the star that Geppetto wished on was the wrong damn star, but at least it was a star, right? At least it was in the sky. At least it moved him forward. And so you say in your life, well, something grips you and fills you with interest. And you think, well, should I do that? And the answer is, if not that, then something. What if it's a mistake? It's a mistake. Rest assured. What do you know? You're going to stumble around, right? And what's going to happen is this. You're going to not stay in stasis. You're not going to wander around in circles. And I see people like that. They said, well, I never knew what to do, and now I'm 40. It's like, that's not so good. That's not so good. And you might say, well, and there is a literature, too, that suggests that people are a lot more unhappy when they look back on their lives about the things they didn't do than they are about the mistakes they made while they were doing things. And so that's really worth thinking about, too, because there's redemptive mistakes. And a redemptive mistake would be a mistake that you make when you go out and try to do something. You know, you think, okay, I'm going to try to do this. And you're not good at it. You make a bunch of mistakes. It's like, what's the consequence if you pay attention? You're not quite so stupid anymore. That's the thing, is you've been informed by the results of your errors. And so what happens is you follow the beacon, you follow the light. And you're blind, so you don't know where the light is. It's dimly apprehended only, and you're afraid to follow it. But you decide to take some stumbling steps towards it. And as you take stumbling steps towards it, you become illuminated and enlightened and informed because of the nature of your experience, because you're pushing yourself beyond where you are, and you're going into the country that you have not yet been in, and you learn something. And so what happens then is the star moves. You move 10 feet towards it, and you think, no, that's not right. I didn't get it right. It isn't there. It's actually there. And so then you see it somewhere else, and you shift yourself slightly, and you move forward. And that's what happens, is that you continue as you change. The thing that guides you forward moves, right? It's like God in the desert in Egypt. The pillar of light that you're following, it's moving. It's not a permanent thing. You move towards it, it moves away. It guides you forward. And so you say, well, is what I'm aiming at paradise itself? And the answer to that is no, because what do you know? You couldn't see paradise if it was right in front of you, but you might get a glimmer of it. And so you move towards it and you grow. And then the next time you open your eyes, you see a little bit more clearly. And that's what happens, is that just happens over and over, right? It keeps moving. But the thing that's so cool is that all those zigs and zags, you say, and each of those zags and zigs is a catastrophe. I hit a wall, my God, and then I had to die a little bit, and I barely got back up. It's a phoenix transformation at each turn, and it's painful. But the thing is that even though you've traveled 20 miles, let's say, on that road, and you've only moved 3 miles forward, you've moved 3 miles forward instead of falling backwards, because that's the thing too, is that if you stand still, you fall backwards. You cannot stand still, because the world moves away from you if you stand still. And there's no stasis, there's only backwards. And so if you're not moving forwards, then you're moving backwards. And that's more of the underlying truth of the Matthew principle. To those who have everything, more will be given. From those who have nothing, everything will be taken. It's a warning. Do not stay in one place.
What burns in your heart is important for you to pay attention to, because it never goes away. That's why people wake up in a rut. See, you hate waking up because you're waking up and you don't know the reason. You're waking up and you don't have no design in mind. Once you live in your purpose, when you discover your gift, you can't wait to wake up. Please understand, pay very close attention to the thing that makes you happy. All of you are gifted at something. The problem is, you keep wanting your gift to be what somebody else's gift is. Identify your own gift because you already have it. Here's the way you identify your gift. Your gift is the thing that you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort. If you fry chicken better than everybody you know, you ought to be somewhere frying chicken. People make millions of dollars frying chicken. Popeye, Kentucky Fried Chicken, El Pollo Loco. All they doing is making chicken. They just found a way to do it. Somebody just started making chicken. You know the story of Marie Callender's? Do you know what this woman did, man? She worked for a diner, a greasy spoon diner that was going out of business. It was her only job. She was a single mother. It was her only job. She needed that job, but the diner was going to close. So she went to the owner of the diner and said, let me bake one of my pies. People like my pies, and see if I can help you make a little money. He said, whatever, bring it in. She bought one pie in. They sold every slice. The next day, the people came in and asked for the pie. She had to go home and make another pie. The next day, so many people asked for the pie, she had to make 4 pies. Then people started saying, can I buy my own pie? She made so many pies at this store that she eventually saved her money and put a commercial oven in her house. Now, she done made so many pies, the dude's shop, he ain't selling hamburger no more. All he's selling is them damn pies. That's how Marie Callender got started. Marie Callender now has over 120 restaurants. You can't go to no frozen food section without seeing Marie Callender in there. You know what she started with? A pie. One pie. Your gift will make room for you. Now, what is your gift? It's the thing that you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort. That's your gift. Quit running away from the gift. Your gift will make room for you. Stop trying to be something you ain't gifted at. Maybe you here because you need to hear this here. Maybe you here because you need to dust off your dreams. Maybe you need to explore your imagination. Maybe you just need to identify your gift so you can quit tripping in your own life, trying to figure out what you can do. Some people are born to be teachers, caregivers, nurses, babysitters. Those are gifts, you know what I mean? If you're living in your gift, you're cool. It's just if you ain't. You do anything else, when that alarm clock go off in the morning, you ain't gonna like it. And I would hate to die and never do the thing I was born to do. You should look into that before you mess around and check out of here.
I used to blame the weather. I blamed the traffic. I used to blame my car. I blamed the manufacturers. I used to blame the company. I blamed company policy. I used to blame the training program. I blamed my negative relatives. They were always putting me down. I blame my cynical neighbors. They're just selfish, looking out for themselves. Won't loan you money? They were on my list. I used to blame the economy. I blamed the community. That's a pretty good list for not doing well, isn't it? I thought it was good. I'll never forget one day. Mr. Schoaf was very kind, but he was also very blunt, and this was no exception. And I'm glad he was blunt. There's a lot of things I'd have missed if he hadn't have been blunt. One day, with sort of a curious look on his face, he said, Jim, just out of curiosity, tell me, how come you haven't done well up until now? Excellent question. I thought, well, so I won't look too bad, I'll go through my list. And this list I just gave you, I put that on him. And he was very patient. He let me go through the whole thing, the government, the weather. I went through this whole thing. When I finished, he looked my list over very carefully. He said, Mr. Rohn, big problem with your list. You ain't on it. When I went to work for him a few months later, I learned very quickly to tear up my list, reasons for not doing well, and I threw it away. And I got me a fresh piece of paper. And I put one word on it. Me. There's a Black Heritage spiritual that says, it's not my mother nor my father, nor my brother nor my sister, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. See, I used to blame everything outside. And then let me give you a little philosophy that helped turn my life around. For your notes, here it is. It's not what happens that determines the quality or the quantity of your life. It's not what happens. And the reason is because what happens to about everybody. No different. The sun went down on all of us last night. A common event. A happening. And I found out that the same things can happen to two different people. One gets rich and one stays poor. Why is that? It's because it's not what happens, but rather it's what you do that changes everything. So that's a key phrase. It's not what happens, it's what you do. What happens is about the same. You might put that in parentheses here. Same. What people do, that's what's different. Somebody says, yeah, but you don't understand the disappointments I've had. Come on. Everybody's had their share. Disappointments are not special gifts reserved for the poor. Everybody has them. The difference is what you do about it. It's not the weather. I used to blame the weather, and I discovered it rains on the rich. So see, that won't help. Two men wake up one morning, there's a rainstorm on. One of them looks out his window, sees the rainstorm, and he says, wow, what a storm. With weather like this, they can't expect you to go out and make sales. He stays home. Same morning, the other guy looks out his window, sees the same storm, says, wow, what a storm. But he says, you know what, with weather like this, what a great day to go out and make sales. Most everybody will probably be home, especially the salesman. See, that's the difference in how your life works out. It's not what happens, it's what you do. So here's one of the key questions of the evening. Starting tomorrow, what are you going to do that'll make a change in your life's direction?
I'll give you another example. You know, in America, many of you, there's 72 countries here, but in America, a lot of people see individuals that come from Asia as being superior in science and math. And there's a different mindset in those countries about science and math. And when those people come here, they work incredibly hard, they're incredibly focused, they believe, and the belief structure is they do really well if you're Asian. Now, in our culture, in the past, many times people have been focused on the fact that if you are a man, you do well with math and science, but if you're a woman, it's just not your cup of tea, you're not quite as strong in it. And there's no basis for that whatsoever, but it's a cultural anchor that people have begun to believe in. So here's what's interesting. They took the math part of the SAT test, and they took a group of women at Harvard, and all they did to change the test is change the first question of the test. On half the test, they said, what's your gender? On the other half of the test, they said, what is your nationality, right? What's your ethnicity? Well, interesting. When they're asked what their sex was, and they're all women, they performed 11% lower. And if they were asked, what is your ethnicity? And they said Asian, they were 11% higher, a 22% difference between the two. And the only difference was the first question was asked. Because it primed you either for your higher level of skill based on your conditioning or a lower level of skill based on social conditioning. How many follow, right? There's a million studies like this. Another interesting one that's really simple is they did an ad where they show the IBM logo and the Apple logo. And they also did this with the commercial. I don't know if you remember the commercial Think Differently that Apple made years ago. So they had people watch the commercials. In both cases, afterwards, they were given a creativity test. The people that watched the 30-second Apple commercial versus IBM scored 20% higher consistently across the board, and all they saw was 30 seconds about thinking different. That is the power of priming. So my point is really simple. If you're going to get the results that you deserve and that you want to prime yourself for success, prime yourself for love, prime yourself for courage, rather than hope that you show up that way based on the triggers of your environment. Does this make sense? And so I prime myself every single day for a minimum of 10 minutes. It's the first thing I do in the morning. And I'd like to show you how I do it and have you do it so you can have a daily discipline. And if you do this every day, if you keep once or twice a year, get yourself to an immersion experience that makes you grow. You get yourself a coach where twice a month, 30 minutes even, you're just staying on target and measuring. And you read 30 minutes a day or hear an audio 30 minutes a day and you start with priming, then this won't be a 3, 6, 12-month thing. This will be a lifetime thing. Does that make sense? So you're not going to get a lifetime results unless you're lucky by one experience, but you can certainly have it if you use this as the blast off, and then you have a daily discipline to keep the momentum going. So how are we going to prime? Well, let me give you a story first, a simple example first with one of my boys. My second youngest son's name is Josh. I love him to death, amazing kid. And Josh came to live with me when he was 5 years old. Remember I told you I was 24, and instantly I got married to a woman who'd been married twice before with kids from 2 different husbands, and she wasn't living with her kids. And so I met her, fell in love with her, brought her into my life, and then saw how sad she was without her kids. So I brought her kids away from both the other husbands. They were happy to give them to us, and I adopted them as ours. And so So I'm 24, and I got a 17-year-old son, because she was 13 years my senior, and 11-year-old daughter, a 5-year-old, and one on the way. Well, Josh was the 5-year-old, and Josh is just such a sweet, really incredibly great kid. But one of the challenges for Josh was he was afraid to even walk down the driveway to get to the bus. I'm Mr. Fear and the power rip shit open, and my son can't walk down to the bottom of the street. And so I had to kind of try to figure out how to deal with this, how to figure it all out, and to figure out what I was going to do to try and make this thing happen, to make it change. And so one of the things that happened was I started to realize that I needed to train his nervous system to have courage. Instead of hoping it showed up, I got to really train it. And I started doing these things with him, and I watched him before my eyes change and become more confident, became more strong. And all it was doing was getting him to program his own mind, prime himself. Just really simple little things to do. And then one day, Josh came home, and he was laughing uncontrollably, and like over nothing. And then I came in the room, and there was a new friend with him. And this kid, do you know anybody that's not really funny, but they think they are? How many know something like this? Somebody who cracks themselves up, you know what I mean? And this kid was cracking himself up. He wasn't funny, but he laughed so hard, I found myself laughing at his silly jokes, right? And Josh was laughing so much. So when he left, I said to Josh, that kid, he's your friend? I said, make him your friend for life. He goes, why, Dad? I said, because if you hang out with him, who you spend time with is who you become. And when you're around him, you're so much more playful. You have so much more joy. You have so much laughter. And that young boy, my son is 36 and I have 3 grandkids with him, and his best friend is still that young boy who's now also 36 years old. And Josh is, let's give him a hand for that. And to this day, Josh is funny as shit. When he was a little kid, like 7 or 8 years old, he stole this dirty jokes book and memorized every freaking joke in the damn thing. And he got so much reward for it, and his buddy was like that to this day, if I want to laugh, Josh is my partner in a couple of my companies, and he's not my partner. I have 4 kids. None of my others are partners with me. I love them all equally, but he shows up differently. And part of it is things that stress other people out, he breaks the pattern with his own laughter. And it's beautiful to be around him. Great time. And he primed him. So I'll give you another example of priming. When I first started my Date with Destiny seminar decades ago, I did the seminar in my own house at a place called the Del Mar Castle. And there were about, 38, 39 people at the seminar. It's a little different now, as you can see. And I was delivering like my heart and soul into this particular program. And gradually I started looking around and going, man, I can't keep doing this in my house. There's not enough room. When we got to 100 people, I had to move it. But I wanted to keep it in the, I lived in Del Mar, California. It's on the beach. And I said, well, there's a hotel on the beach. And it's a really nice hotel called Le Berge. And we'll go down Le Berge, we'll do it there. And they have a room that'll hold 150 people, which is a giant seminar for me at those days. And what I didn't count on, I thought, this is great. People work on their beliefs and their goals and their values, and they go outside and they can sit on the beach during the breaks, breathe the fresh air. But what I didn't think about is right there in Del Mar on the beach, there's a train station. And so somehow my little brain didn't figure this out till it was too late. I'm in the middle of the seminar and someone is sharing this emotional experience. This woman was raped and she's going through it all, and I'm stepping in to help her, and all of a sudden and you hear this freaking train whistle. And they do it like 5 times so nobody misses the train. And so every time you start talking, you interrupt it again, and people are getting pissed off. And it was happening so often because there's so many trains that at one point I realized I know the schedule of when everybody will be pissed off. 8:30 a.m., 10:15, 11:30, 12:10. They're going to be pissed because the train's going to come. So I turned to the audience and I said, we kind of have a schedule for being pissed off right now, and I'd like us to train ourselves to feel differently. How many of you have something in your life or someone who can trigger you at times, annoy you? It could be a family member you love, but they have this little thing they do. It could be a husband or wife. It could be your kids. It could be a coworker. How many got one of these? Say, I said, what if we trained ourselves so the same stimulus that was making us angry, we trained our nervous system just using basic science, neuroscience, train our nervous system so the same stimulus makes us feel great. And people looked at me like, this is bullshit. What are you talking about? I said, here's what I want to do. Since the train's going to come 12 times a day and we have 3 more days together, perhaps we should enjoy the train. How many of you, when you were a kid, when you heard a train, you wanted to see the train and maybe count the number of cars or run down and be close to it? How many were excited when you saw a train? Raise your hand, say aye. Now you're on the way to work or a meeting and a train comes and it's in your way. Frickin' train! I'll give you a clue. The train didn't change. Right? So the question is, I said, what if every time the train comes, we train ourselves to celebrate, to feel good, to enjoy? I said, so here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Every time we are trained, I don't care if you're in the middle of the most important conversation of your life. I don't care if we're doing something what you think is so important. I don't care if you're tired. I don't care if all the books are on your chair. I want you to instantly just drop everything, and I want you to jump and start to celebrate like a little kid, like it's the greatest gift of your life. And then we're going to end with a whoa clap, and then we're going to laugh hysterically into our chair. And if you can't laugh, I want you to fake laugh into your chair. Because most of you know, if you fake laugh, what starts to happen? Real laughter comes, right? And then you wire yourself to laugh more easily. Just like with Josh, I wanted people, wouldn't it be nice to laugh easier? You didn't have to have everything be perfectly funny for you to have a good time. Because most of you, it doesn't have to be perfectly bad for you to be pissed off. So train it. So I got everybody to agree, and we did it. So every time the train came, and some people are like, oh, a frickin' train. That won't work. You got to go, it's a train. You got to be like a little kid. And pretty soon, people look forward to the train. And by the way, would this be useful to train yourself around a person in your life or a situation? Yes or no? So I don't have a train nearby, but I've imported a special train whistle. And I'm going to ask you for the rest of today, no matter how tired we are, no matter how hardworking, no matter what we're in the middle of, if we hear that train whistle, we're going to jump up and we're going to celebrate like little kids, make noise, have fun. We'll clap, we'll do the whoa clap, and then we're going to laugh hysterically into our chair and maybe point at somebody else and laugh at them while we're doing it to train our nervous system.